And it is, yes, 5:30. So in attendance is myself, Amy Fiden. We have Paul Benjamin, David Phil, and Andy Kopacki. So I did have minutes, but I'm just gonna push them off one more time just because I was too busy today to get those together. So if we could just jump right to it. And Scott is the one that is on today. It's all about Scott.
Scott, you're muted. And can you introduce Stacy as well?
Sorry. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm here with my staff, Stacy Sullivan. She's our accounts payable. She pays all the bills in our department, and she knows a lot about what account we pay what X things out of. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. She should be able to help answer anything.
So Scott, what would you like me to share the screen from the budgets from the budget book, or do you want to talk first?
I'm all set to go if they are. I'm not sure what page you want to start
on. Let me see if I can get them.
Page 39.
Right? Once I get to the budget book. All right. Where'd it go? Sorry. I don't have my mouse, so I'm working on a touch screen, and it gets a little awkward for me sometimes. Okay, so is the budget book on the screen at this point?
No.
Okay, let me try one more time.
There you go.
All righty. Just move that over, expand it. All right.
Page 39, I think.
Right. Scrolled quicker than I thought it would. Okay, so the first budgets we're going to do then, Scott, if that's okay, the general fund ones, and then we'll do the enterprise fund. Is that okay? We have
whatever you want.
Okay, so the 5 general fund budgets you see on your screen here are the highway, snow and ice, street lighting, building maintenance, and the cemetery, with the largest ones being the highway and the building maintenance. So if we just want to go in order, the first one that comes up is the snow and ice.
So I don't really see a change much. I don't think. Let's
Oh,
see.
snow and ice, actually, we kept this, we kept the even. This is the one that we can, if we go over, we can overspend it. But as you can see, the last few years, we haven't overspent it. So there's really nothing to go over there. We just level funded it.
Okay.
All right, Scott, now here's the good one there. Here you go with highway operations. And I cannot show the whole thing on the screen at once without making it small. So should we just go down from the top,
Scott? Yeah, sure. Unless Amy wants to start in a particular area. I'm not sure what she's looking for.
I would just
Obviously,
start
this.
from the top. Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the salaries, most of them are set, union contracts. So, we, it is, set in their contracts, and those are the numbers we're gonna need for that. Overtime budget.
I have
I
a
requested
question. Why did it go down?
the salaries.
Oh, it didn't go down. Let's just
No.
double check. Did it go down or up? Let's see. 133, and you voted last year was professional salaries was 133, and you requested 101. And then plus COLA is 103. So it went down?
Yes, because Chris is no longer director, and we don't have we basically don't have a position in that budget anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Mhm.
So overtime, we requested 25. Carolyn suggesting 15. Last year we were at 13. 525. That's kind of an unknown too, depending on what we have for weather, emergencies, etc. So hopefully it's enough. Stipends are, we know what they are due to people's longevity and things of that nature. So that number's accurate there. Electric bill, obviously the rates have increased. We requested 19,376. Where Carolyn had suggested 15,000. Heating, we requested 3,600. The town suggesting 2,500. The water and sewer bill, same. The vehicle maintenance budget, I requested 100,000. The town's suggesting 75. Street and pedestrian way maintenance, we requested 150. The town is suggesting 75,000. Equipment repairs and maintenance, we requested 10,000. The town's suggesting 7,500. Rental and leases, we're staying the same at 2,000. The ditch maintenance line, we requested 25,000. The town suggesting 15. Dike maintenance, we requested 50,000. Town suggesting 30,000. Police details, we're pushing up to 15,000. The rate for detail officers has increased. Engineering, architectural, 15,000. Physicals and tests and drug testing, 2,500. Arborist and vegetation management, I requested 100,000. The town suggesting 6,500. Telecommunications, 4,500. Software, 4,500. Office supplies requested 3,000. The town is suggesting 2,500. Vehicle fuel, were requested 55,000. The town suggesting 50. Public work supplies requested 50,000. Town is suggesting 40. Uniforms, we're suggesting 20,000. The town suggested 15. And licenses and dues, $5,000.
Okay, so really the big bottom line is for 40, the change says for 45,000. The big 37,000, I think, is just the contracts with union negotiations. I'm understanding. That's the biggest increase.
Yes.
Okay. I would say that's does anybody have any questions, or does anybody go ahead, Paul?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. It looks like we only, last year was voted 75,000 on the street maintenance, street and pedestrian way, and the actual was 14. Did we just not have, just weren't able to appropriate, we needed it for something else, or?
We were fortunate enough this fiscal year to receive a winter recovery assistance grant from the state, which we were able to use to so far we've used it for our line striping, which is a huge expense. It's about $36,000 to repaint the lines yearly on across the town. And we were able to use the grant for that and a few other pothole projects. So we were able to keep that budget line lower this year, but costs have increased, and we don't know if we'll have that grant available next year.
Okay.
Is that a grant we do every year, that we go for every year?
This is the
No.
first that I've seen of it. I've only been with the town 2 years though. But this was, I didn't see one for fiscal year 21, only for fiscal year 22. And it's because the winter was so bad that across Massachusetts, a lot of people needed help.
Okay. Thank you.
So I guess my question here is that you requested 150. Do we have some projects that you thought you were going to need to do this year that you went to such a higher number? I mean,
Just everything in general, Paul, like
Okay.
pothole patching, the line painting the roads for $36,000. Our operating expense has gone up tremendously. Just do normal projects. Materials are skyrocketing.
right. So I guess where I'm going is the 75 going to be enough for what you think you're going to need to spend this year? Not that I'm looking to increase budgets here, but I also don't want to underfund something that also prevents bigger projects later sometimes.
If I had to say realistically, I'd say the 75,000 is probably not going to be enough.
And is there somewhere between 75 and 150? I mean, or is 150 really a realistic number in your mind?
Well, it's a realistic number. Like I said, if we add say, call it by the price of things going up, if we stripe the town, that'll be closer to 40,000, I'm sure, this year. So and just pothole patching, any kind of catch basin repair, drain pipes, etc. Just materials are astronomical.
Okay. All right, and I had two other questions, and I mean, I think we need to discuss all this, you know, whether we're cutting this too tight or something like that. I don't know. But that's my impression. The arborists, I know we talk about this every year, at least since I've been here.
Yep.
We went from 65 to 26 in the actual last year. And again, is that basically the same? I mean, we have a lot of trees, so I'm sure you could spend twice this number, even with the request, if you really went to town on it, so to speak. But
Paul,
That
Can I just jump
That
in? And
actual number-
I think something's being misunderstood. Last year, if you're talking about what, let me go back to the top.
that only goes to 12.
FY 21 and FY 22 are actual figures from the year end, because those were full years.
Okay,
The 23 is 2 columns of green. One is what we voted, and then actuals are just year to date through December.
okay.
So
we
when
still
you
have-
go back here, so we didn't reduce anything to 26. So the actual amount, they spent 105 and then they spent 55. We budgeted 65 this year, about which half was spent at that point. And then then they requested 100 and we put it back down to 65. So go ahead. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear what those figures were.
Yeah, I just, I mean, go ahead.
As of trying to see the date. As of 3/1, we spent $38,203.15 in vegetation and arborist.
Okay.
Obviously, it's another contractor item that it's costly to do. Most of the trees we have to take down are relatively large and they're expensive to take down. I requested that sum of money because there's some really big trees on River Drive. I don't know if you ever noticed them there. They have cement filled in them and things that really need to be addressed, and they're going to be expensive to take down. I'm trying this year, you know, depending on what happens between now and the end of June, you know, trying to be conservative what we have and try to maybe do one or two with our rest of our money, but it is an expensive thing to do.
All right, and then my only other question was, I know on vehicle fuel to date, you're already over budget. I know fuel's gone up, diesel especially has almost doubled from what it was 2 years ago. So my question is the budget that we're putting in there realistic, or is there some safety valve somewhere else if you're going to run short? Gas has come down, but diesel has barely dropped.
Yeah, that's another one, Paul, depending on what kind of storms we have, winter, etc. Obviously, the bulk of our diesel fuel is burnt in the winter time when we're really running a lot of vehicles consistently. I mean, that's another question that, you know, they won't bid fuel till the last minute, probably very beginning of June. So depending on what happens from now to then with fuel prices, it's just it's an unknown. I don't know. It may not, if fuel remains $4 or better a gallon for diesel fuel, it may not be enough.
Right.
Can I step in and ask Stacy a question here? Stacy, when the town buys the fuel for the vehicles, doesn't DPW pay for it first and then it gets allocated out to other departments?
Yes, on a monthly basis.
Is it every month? Because I see when I'm actually looking the updated through February, it's at 90. That figure is actually about 95,000, and I wonder if that is before or after this has been allocated out. And is that then that figure goes down? Your budget line goes down when you receive the payments from other departments. Is that how it works?
I believe so. Sometimes it takes a few months to fluctuate back and forth.
Right.
So it's kind of a hard budget to track.
It really is. And so when we were trying to decide, we go back and we see again in 20,000 was spent, and then the next year 51,000 and 50 was budgeted. But I think it took a while at the end of the year for that figure to settle back down at 51. It's hard to, like Stacy says, it's hard to track. Are you actually finding, Stacy and Scott, that the rate, the actual rate is higher, or usage is higher, or is it comparable to last year, or is there a reason it isn't?
Diesel fuel, I think we're on track, Linda, kind of even as last year. Gasoline consumption has gone up dramatically. We are currently, I forgot, I think we bid 25,000 gallons of gasoline. I've had purchased all of that, and that's all on the ground. If we need more gasoline, obviously, we're not going to make it from here till June 30th without buying more gasoline, and we're going to have to buy that at rack price because we used up everything we had on contract.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's across the board. You know, police, fire, a couple of the buses, all the DPW, the gas consumption has gone up tremendously. And I'm not sure if that has to do with more traffic detail, that, you know, the police departments out on Route 9 with multiple vehicles every day.
Yeah.
And that's another one. It's hard to really get a good estimate on what we're gonna need for gas.
Maybe we could, I think David might have something to say. You see his hand up.
Yep, I just got a couple of them. I'll start with street and pedestrian way maintenance. So Scott, this is over and above Chapter 90 money, right?
Correct,
Okay, so
yes.
this is the number as of, I guess we only use 14,000 as of 12/31. My only concern is just driving around town, you see Hockenham and River Drive and some of these other areas that are going to need a ton of pothole work after the winter's done. And so I would imagine that most of that, if not all of it, will be eaten up, with spring roadway repairs. And then the other question is with the line striping, if we don't get that grant under the 75,000 number that's been put in there, are we going to be able to repaint the lines on the roads, or are we not going to be able to afford that?
It's gonna have to make that decision of where you want to spend the money. Do we spend it on, maintaining the road surfaces, filling potholes, fixing catch basin, drain problems, etc., or do we stripe the lines? Because $40,000, roughly off the top, that's a lot of money. I don't particularly see the state giving out that winter recovery money again. I haven't seen any emails or any conversations on like any websites or anything like that DPW wise, and no one's saying anything. So I would imagine that we're going to be back to square one again, and that's an expensive thing to do for the town.
So my concern with that is two things. One is, line painting's kind of about the most visible, other than maybe snow removal, about the most visible thing that the DPW does for the townspeople. And everybody notices when the lines aren't painted or when they suddenly show up overnight and they are painted. And I know in past years we've had trouble with contractors and getting them scheduled and everything else, but it seems like we're trying to do that a little earlier in the year. And the other issue is safety. You look at some of the areas on Route 9 where there is basically no markings on the road, and it's just a mess because of the construction. And I know there's some of our town roads are getting pretty bad in areas too. So I just, I don't know if there's any room there, but I think we need to budget for line painting just in case that grant doesn't come through. A, because people see it and that's one of the first things they're going to complain about, and B, just because of the safety aspect of it. But
and David, it's one of those things too that think things aren't made that they used to be. Like the paint quality is not quite as good and doesn't seem to last as long. And obviously this winter, we plowed, but obviously the more you plow, the more scraping, etc., affects all those lines and etc. So I mean, I feel it's somewhat of an important thing to do, especially for public safety in town. Some of the areas are very limited on street lights, etc. And I think people, follow the lines and at nighttime or in fog or etc. I'm not sure how we're going to fund it. We'll have to fund it out of the 75,000, but it's going to take away from a lot of other areas.
If we did talk about straddling the fiscal year, since you had the grant applied against it this year, that you could get some of it done within the current fiscal year and ease the burden on 24.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, that was one of the things we were looking at, even forecasting out that there be a plan on painting, because this is, Scott, if I'm correct, this original request included all of the painting being done in 1 year versus setting aside a certain amount of streets.
Yeah, I mean, the painting is there's only like 2 contractors that do it, and it's very tough to get them. To have them come twice in a year is going to be difficult to orchestrate. They jump for MassDOT, all these big paving projects, etc., and they put all the towns in the back burner. I talked to multiple people. The company that was low bid last year on the FERCOG, they didn't even respond to some people, period. We were lucky. I jumped on it right away. July 1 when the new contract came out, and I got in the queue immediately, and we lucked out, and I was able to get them. I think they came in the tail end of July, but to get them to come more than one time, it's tough to do.
Scott, I assume that Route 9 is, the state does that, and 47?
Correct.
That's why it's not done at all.
47 we do. 47 we do. It's a routed road, but a town road.
Right. Well, I'm concerned that we're under budgeted in this line item, and also for pothole repair and such. So I think we need to figure out a way to get more money here. I just am concerned he's not gonna have enough unless there's gonna be some surpluses potentially somewhere else. And I'm also concerned about the fuel number. If we've just got enough budgeted, I'd rather us budget properly than have to come back mid-year and run into a crisis.
So that was my next line question, Scott, on the fuel. We kind of lucked out this winter so far with snow removal, so we haven't gone crazy with the diesel. But what's the plan with the pumps? Are we going to be going to fleet cards? Is the unleaded pumps going to be shut down, or are they salvageable, or what's the story with that? Because that may play a role in this too.
Yeah. So David, we have the fleet cards right now through one of the state organization combines, whatever. So we do have fleet cards available. Every department, water, sewer, highway, fire, police, and the buses, we all have fleet cards where we can go to a service station and get fuel. As far as the pumps go, the gasoline is obviously the biggest problem. When it gets low and it starts getting vaporized, etc., we can't pump it. So I know the gasoline for a fact is going to be a problem coming up. The diesel fuel, I forget how much, we still have some available right now in our bid that we bought. I think there's another drop left of diesel fuel, and that's going to last us a little while. So the diesel fuel is, I don't know, it's a little easier to or less of, I guess. The gasoline, I think, is the biggest problem. And like I said, I don't know, we got some new vehicles coming and stuff. I'm not sure what the fuel consumption is going to be on those big diesel engines. And of course, depending on how hard they're running too, comes into play with, storms.
So, and I'm guessing that typically when we purchase fuel in bulk and put it in our own tanks, it's slightly cheaper than the rates we're getting for unleaded with the fleet card, right?
Yes. Stacy, do you know off the top of your head what we were paying with the fleet card? I know that it is discounted.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I think it's a percentage. I believe it's 5%, but don't quote me on it. I can look it up.
So, and it doesn't really matter. It's just the reason I'm asking is because if we do run into problems with the unleaded pumps and the tanks, like we allocated capital for last year or the year before, whatever it was, and one of the considerations were to possibly shut down that tank rather than spend $500,000 or $1 million getting a new tank in the ground, and the cost of that amortized over X number of years of its lifespan. I think we're going to be, potentially having to go to the fleet card more often for unleaded vehicles, which will just increase that line item versus us paying for it out of our own, or us filling up the vehicles out of our own tanks. So this line may be even more underfunded than what we think it is.
Yeah, that's a good possibility, David. And then, like you said, this whole gas tank situation, obviously, when it gets warmer out, we have considerable amount of problems pumping. I mean, we know the tanks are at their end of their expected life, just steel tanks in the ground. We talked about this before, and it is something that, we're really not doing anything with at the moment because we're in the middle of this DPW garage feasibility study where, new pumps are part of the project. Just one of those things that we're just trying to nurse along. But if we do have a problem, you're 100% right. I don't think we're going to be fixing any pumps. We're going to be yanking it out of the ground, and we'll be done with it altogether.
I have a quick question on the unleaded. And sorry for the I'm looking for a little clarity because I don't quite understand that if our consumption rate is up because of things like the Route 9 project, how do we and the details, how does that money come back for purchasing that fuel? I'm sure the detail has is that just absorbed by the town, or is that something that when they hire the detail that's included in that revenue?
I believe the police department charges the customer a fuel charge. It's part of when they send you a car, they charge X amount of dollars for fuel.
And
where that
money
goes, I have no idea.
I was wondering if that money goes back into, the allocation aspect. So, if DPW is buying it and the departments are putting that money back in and our usage is up, should we not be expecting more money coming in from police for all those details to help offset that?
Yes, if they're buying more gas, refunded from them, but it just the way the fuel works in general, like originally it gets paid out of the highway department. That's why the numbers are so kind of off. Like the highway department pays and everyone else reimburses us as they come for fuel, and there's a big lapse in getting the numbers back on track.
But maybe Linda, you would know this. I think, Andy, what you're asking is, does that money that you are reimbursed go directly back into the fuel fund to purchase more fuel, or does it go into some other aspect of the budget?
I think it goes, it gets applied against their expense. I think it's a reallocation of the expense. Stacy, isn't there the sheet comes out and it's pluses and minuses in a number of different budgets from inspectors and schools and police?
Yes.
And so it's reallocating the expenditure line. So I think we see that line kind of go up and down.
Yes, but as far as like once a different department bills a customer, in this case like the state, for fuel consumption, I'm not sure where those funds get placed. I'm not sure if those go back into the fuel budget or if they just go kind of like into a general fund area.
I think they go against the expense, but
it would be, certainly if that's the case, it would be, I'd hate to see that money going into another department's general fund. I mean, obviously money's tight everywhere, but we want to make sure that at the end of the day, we have enough money to purchase the gas. And if we're being paid for the gas and that money is going elsewhere, it ought to wind up back into the till for us to be able to buy more fuel.
Yeah, I know the first part of this year, it took until September or October to get to the first allocation, and I'm not sure why, Stacy. I think it just has to do with the accountants catching up on trying to wrap up the prior year. So it's I think it's pretty irregular in how it's applied, and I honestly don't know where we are in the cycle at this point. Except that I look at where we were at the end of December, which is 82, and where we are at the end of February, which is 95. That's not a whole lot more in 2 months. That's a 10,000 increase over 2 months compared to.
And I'm showing that we've spent about 150, so we've definitely gotten some back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a hard one. I would like to say, just in general, so I'm kind of getting the impression here that you think we've cut this a bit. And just to step back, and we have. I mean, there were a lot of requests made, and the DPW has a lot of projects, and basically endless projects that they can keep on doing, but they only have the manpower and the ability to take on so much. Stepping back and looking at the bigger picture here is what we were doing, and you see the budget's $924,000, and halfway through the year, they spent really only about half that budget. And when I look at where we are right now, they've spent 541,000 through the end of February. That's less than 60% of the budget. So, and we do get money back. They're in a department, it's very difficult to say how much they need in each one. And Scott is, as is a responsible thing to do, trying to ask for as much as he might need for each line item. But we're backing up and looking at the whole picture and saying, well, maybe this one's a little overfunded. Maybe there's another one that's underfunded. And maybe they're not going to get to this work. I mean, if you look just at the trees, the arborist one, and 20, they spent 105,000. And when I say they, I mean, it's any director. And this is true of how it's been running for years, 105,000. The next year, half that. There's no set amount in some of these project lines of what they know that it's going to be. So we're just trying to, we'll give it, when you see that the bottom line of what was recommended, we voted almost 925,000 for the 23 budget. And it is up $45,000. You're sounding like you'd like it to be up more than that, but it's an increase comparable to what departments are getting, and highway has turned it back, which is also the responsible thing to do when they don't fund all these budgets. So it's a balancing game here as to how much you want to put in there just in case, and how much we want to just see how it goes.
Yeah, and no, I completely understand that, Linda. I was, talking about the trees. I think two things. One is for FY22, we lucked out because of the Eversource work and their contractors taking care of a lot of our trees, and then also the Route 9 project. So I know every year we seem to, we either go way under on trees or we just blow it out of the water, so there's like no in between where we ever just come in, as projected. So I get the trees. I would be surprised if we come under it again, but I guess we've been lucky with the winter so far, and no crazy storms really this past summer. But
right,
I'm more.
And we're coming into spring too, which is the time to tend to it more.
Right. Yeah, it's just the fuel and the road maintenance are more of the concern even than the trees for me. So.
Yeah, I concur. That's where I was coming from.
Yeah, I mean, when we need fuel, we need it. And certainly can't operate all the DPW can't do their operations without that. And but I'm curious about this potential of leaking money. Money winding up if it's coming in from the state into other departments and then not rolling back in to help pay for more.
I'm not following why money would be going and leaking into other departments. Andy, it doesn't work that way. What do you mean? You mean just going into the general fund to be spent again the next year? I mean, it's not coming and leaking into other departments.
So if the police department were collecting for their hourly rate from the state, and part of that included a fuel surcharge, and then that fuel surcharge is then getting fully reimbursed back to DPW.
It would be reimbursed back to us in way of when they pay for their fuel consumption every month.
Okay.
They would be giving us back the money technically in a way.
Good.
So
right.
Those lines, I think, Linda, do we have a revolving fund for police details, or how are those paid out?
There is a revolving fund for police details.
So, and I get this takes a while for the accountant to do their thing and whatnot, but a lag of months and months. I know the officers doing the details, they want to get paid, and they're getting paid in a timely manner.
They do. They do.
I'm wondering whether we can somehow implement where, if nothing else, the fuel is at least reimbursed to the DPW out of the revolving fund as a cost of that detail, just like the labor charges would be. Just so that way we don't have that lag, and that Scott isn't waiting 6 months to get reimbursed because of the accountant or whatever. I don't know if there's a way to improve it. I don't know if that's even possible, but just throwing that out there.
Okay. And then I see it as two different things, because we get a fee for use of the car in the police detail. And that's actually goes to the town as an administrative fee. So it's like a police revenue and it goes into the general fund. At the same time, the usage of the cars, those same detail cars, because they sit where they're running the whole time, they come and get their fuel down at DPW. That's billed separately. It's not part of the detail billing.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
So we do take in the administrative fee, but there's usage of the vehicle might be in there, but it's not actually a gas one. But then those cars, when they go down and get their gas, then I don't even know, Stacy, how it's tracked, but I know you all have a way of tracking and say this much was spent on police cars, and I honestly don't know either whether the reimbursement is initiated from DPW or whether it's I don't know what the trigger is for getting that reallocation to happen.
It's I believe that's done on the accountant's end. Every month I
Yeah.
send a report out that breaks down what each department used to each of the department heads as well as the accountant. And then she'll transfer from their budget, their vehicle fuel budget into the DPW's vehicle fuel budget.
And do you think they're current now? Do you
I'm
see-
not 100% sure. I don't have a
Okay.
We can get that information just to
Yeah,
just to
absolutely.
clarify, because I think that's important to know. So we can
yes,
get
I'll
that
look
from
that up
Lauren.
right now.
Yep, she's here next week, actually. We can talk about it with her on Wednesday.
It just makes a
Meeting
huge,
with her.
it just makes a huge difference because if they're in arrears, say $40,000 as far as transferring money back to the DPW for fuel, then that's a whole different picture than is if they're current and we're already, way over budget and it's only March. So
Well, we did speak about it in the fall because it's not just an inconvenience for DPW. You have other departments who've got this nice, really low fuel line running. And I know the one that brought it up and sort of, Lulu brought it to my attention in the fall was Dee Dee, the one wondering what was going on with their fuel with the car that they use, that they weren't getting any chargebacks. What's going on? So I mean, so for that entire time, I think the DPW was carrying it probably the first 3 months of the year, and so there was some catch up to do then. Whether they've maintained it and kept up since then, I don't know, or whether it's a perpetual lag. I know it was a lag at the beginning of the year. I don't know if it still is.
Okay,
It looks like it's current to January. There was a lag with getting the invoices out at the end of January for February, just because there was an issue with the programming. So that's most likely why there's a small lag. But it looks like everything from December is in there.
all right, so it sounds to me like we'll move on. We can discuss this more down the road, but right now it looks like there are a few questions on a couple of those line items. And we'll continue that discussion afterwards. So why don't we go on to the unless someone else has a line item you need to pick out. I think we've done a good job on this. All right, so it's a building maintenance.
Another long one, unfortunately. So we'll take it in pieces. Hopefully you've got the whole thing in front of you if you need it in your book. But this is page 41.
So building maintenance salaries, we had conversations about, adding, I was looking to add 2 employees to this figure. In our discussions, Carolyn suggested that we try to go with 1 additional employee for building maintenance right now, and alleviate the cleaning expense out of the library and the senior center, so that money will be cleaning money will be going back to go towards the salary for an employee. So that's the additional money in building maintenance salary is for another employee. And then, yeah, the budgeting numbers, senior center, because, maintenance budget, 17,000. The custodial would be down to 0. Town hall maintenance budget 17. The custodial budget 14,400. The Goodwin maintenance 2,500. Russell School $350. North Hadley Fire Station, we requested 7,000. The town is suggesting 5. Public Safety Complex, 28,000. Custodial 14,400. Highway Building Maintenance, 10,000. Custodial of 5. Library maintenance of 12. Deleting the custodial expense.
Just to clarify, when we say custodial, those are contracted amounts. And so what's happening is the contracted amount, DPW is requesting that they have an employee instead, so that we've got someone here 24 hours, 40 hours or whatever, 35 to 40 hours a week. And there were also, with those 2 buildings, specifically the senior center and the library, those are the buildings that have the public in on a regular basis, and they were really looking for a stepped up number of cleanings, and to be able to have someone come over right after an event and take care of it. So it was something that was a little bit beyond the ability of a contractor to be on constant call like that. So that was a concession to what those buildings' needs were too. So we went ahead with the additional employee at the top who would then be available to handle those needs as they arisen.
But this person is not, my understanding is not just a custodial. This is actually a
Right.
maintenance person that could do like painting or if need be, or some basic maintenance, correct?
Correct.
So is it okay if I just give you some background to part of the goals for this year was to look at personnel and to look where some gaps have been pretty evident the past few years. One of them definitely is maintenance and custodial. So right now we outsource about 25 and a half hours for all of the buildings with a vendor. So we have 2 buildings, as Linda spoke about, the senior center and the library, who have people all day long, every day in there. And you need somebody during the day to be helping out with all of the needs that occur with that many people right now. And so right now, all of the buildings, the library and the senior center get a total of 6 hours a week. That is just not appropriate to maintain these buildings. And it's also going to, that there will, as Scott has said, part of that is going to be to do repairs and maintenance. And the ultimate goal, they did request for 2 of those positions, but this year you will see, as we go through all of the other budgets, we just can't afford to put 2 new positions in one department. So this is our ongoing goal, is to build up the whole maintenance of all of our buildings so that we're keeping them, not in disrepair, our old ones as well as our newer ones. So that I just wanted to let you know that is part of a bigger plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for Scott on this?
Nope. I'm
Nope.
good.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. Streetlights.
You go, that'll be quick.
So yeah, streetlights the project was completed now that we own our own streetlights, and we're still trying to figure all this out still, of what our bills and stuff are. So we're hoping that these numbers are going to be accurate. We do need a little bit of money in there for maintenance of the lights. If we have to make a repair, we do have to pay for that ourselves. So that's where the $5,000 was added.
Okay. Okay,
Also,
Thank you.
thank you. So cemetery,
The next one, cemetery, part of building maintenance / cemetery salary, and then the ground maintenance of 40,000. That's the current contract with the vendor for mowings and spring and fall cleanup. And this mowing is based on a weekly mowing cycle. So if it does get dry and they do go to bi-weekly, there will be a little bit of savings there. But this is worst case scenario of maximum expense.
okay. Yeah, that just looks like it was when I was just looking, I'm like, wow, it's a big jump, but that's worst case scenario, you said.
Well, yeah, and then last year when we bid this, the prices jumped up tremendously from all the vendors. It doubled from what aftermath of COVID or whatever, fuel costs, etc. No employees. All the bids jumped up tremendously and this is low bid.
Okay. Yeah. Is what it is, I guess. It's like that all over.
Thank you.
Okay,
all set?
thank you. Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna zip ahead then. We're ready to do the enterprise funds.
Mhm.
Is that? Oh, 55, sorry. All right, there we go. So there are two enterprise budgets. One, each individually is to be self-sustaining. We have a separate fund for each of sewer and water. And Scott, this is the same sewer budget, that we've had all along. And then I know you've got an increase that has come up recently, but go ahead and take it away.
Okay. So once again, the salaries are, set by the union contract. There is known overtime expenses, mandatory weekends we have to work there. So those numbers are, somewhat set by the contract. There is overtime, obviously, money in there for the unexpected storms or malfunctions, etc. And the stipends and longevity, actually, we're going to be going down on that. There's soon to be another retirement there, so we'll be saving a little bit of money on longevity. Electric, once again, has gone up tremendously. We were looking for 98,000. The town is saying we're suggesting 70. Heating, once again, to price of fuel oil and everything's gone up, in propane. We requested 10,000. The town is suggesting 6. The water and sewer bill is the same at 3,000. Vehicle maintenance, once again, just the cost of doing business, everything costs more money to maintain and keep going. We were looking to put 8,000. The town is suggesting 6. One of the biggest things in there, the equipment repairs and maintenance, everything in that sewer plant and pump stations is very, very expensive to operate and maintain. Malfunctions are very costly. We were looking to go to $125,000. The town is suggesting 75. Property related services, 2,800. Other professional expenses, we requested 200. The town is suggesting 150, but this is where we pay our sludge hauling out of. And we recently got notification that is going up tremendously. That was part of the conversation to do with the rate increases. So that line there is definitely needs to be adjusted. Well, it's knowingly not enough money anymore. Legal notices, the same for 3,000. Same with police details, 3,000. The technical support, 2,000. Engineering service, we requested 50,000. The town suggests 45. Physicals and testing for the employees, 1,000. Telecommunications, we requested 12,000. The town is suggesting 10. That's the monitoring system. The sewer stations all have a dialer and a call out program for any kind of malfunctions, and there is a service contract and stuff that goes along with that, and it does go up every year. Software licensing, we requested 5,000. The town is suggesting 4. Office supplies, we requested 4,000. The town is suggesting 3. Once again, vehicle fuel, we requested 9,750. The town is suggesting 7,000. Sewer supplies, we requested 15,000. The town is suggesting 12. Uniforms, we requested 10,000. The town is suggesting 9. Dues and training, 6,000. Infrastructure maintenance, we put that line, we moved it to another line. I forget what one, Linda, do you remember where we moved that to?
Let's see.
The 5,000 was added elsewhere. That's why it's
Right, we
was
shifted it.
removed. Yeah. Yeah. And then the principal debt and interest, long-term debt, that's all things that Linda does from her numbers from the debt and borrowing.
I have a quick question here to start things off then. Under the 440-530 other professional services, the haul off that you were talking about, fiscal year 2022 shows 341,000 spent then, and then seem to be on a much lower clip through December 31st of this past year. Is there any phenomena or any explanation why we dropped off that much?
For an update through February, that line is 106,000.
Okay.
That helps you, Scott. Stacy.
Yep.
Thank you. And in FY22, we did have unusual spending out of that line for some slip lining work. So that's why it was much higher that year than other years.
There was some work, Andy, that was there was an article approved for, and for whatever reason, that job wasn't billed to that article. It was billed to this, and when we caught it, after everything that happened internally, when we caught it, it was too late to fund it out of the article and get our money back, so it had to stay where it was.
Right. Nothing's been lost in that process, but yes, it was, we couldn't figure out why it was so high, but by the time, the year was closed by the time we all put the pieces together and figured out what had happened. The good news is we don't have to borrow for that article, so, I mean, it's the same, it's the same money source that it's eventually all coming out of, so, no loss, but it does throw off, the planning.
Yeah, it was just a significant drop, and I didn't want to,
Right.
I think Andy, it was like $120,000 project, charged to the wrong account.
okay.
Yeah.
I just don't want you to be short in 24 for, if that was the number.
Yeah, yeah, we know there has to be an adjustment there. That's the, I don't have the information in front of me, but there was a notification sent out yesterday from the sludge hauling company, of, tremendous increase. I sent that off to Carolyn and Linda. They're well aware of it, that there's going to need to be a major adjustment there.
Right.
With that increase, and if the other contracts that we have for lab testing that come out of that budget line stay the same for next fiscal year, we're looking at around $286,000.
286?
I'm sorry?
Did you say 286,000?
Yes.
Okay.
The sludge removal alone is about $243,000 that they're estimating for fiscal year 24.
So it was almost doubled what it was the year before, and that news just came this week. It was pretty stunning.
Yeah, that's is that they have changed regulations? Do we have to haul it farther, something along those lines, or?
A
Oh,
lot
it
of
goes
what
to
I'm seeing is fuel cost adjustments. I looked back, and since November, it seems every 2 months our invoices have increased about $4,000 each month, or each 2 months. Sorry.
Escalating 4,000, like $2,000 a month.
More.
So far.
Yeah.
Is there an alternative service, Stacy or Scott?
Not that I know.
This is
of,
another
but
one that's bid through the FERCog, Linda, the process, and it goes, the sludge right now goes to Lowell Regional Plant, and just the expense of dealing with it, processing and with everything, electric, chemicals, etc. It's just fuel for the trucking to get it here. It's just gone up so high. There is an option that they might be able to take a loader to another treatment facility, but it's a very small plant. They can only take a couple loads a week from people. So it's not, it's really something that we don't have a choice on. There's nowhere else to go. It's the only place that takes it.
and testing for a specific chemical in the wastewater is becoming very, very costly, and those prices specifically are going up.
Okay.
And a lot of these things too, just, obviously, these aren't our decisions to do all this testing and stuff. It's part of our discharge permit that we have to follow from the DEP. So all this stuff is mandated from the state. We don't have a choice but to do it.
And Amy, could I give a little
Yeah,
background on sewer and water? I mean, it's not a matter of if you want to increase these lines or give them their full request, we can just do that out of somewhere. Again, it has to be covered by sewer revenue, which is really almost exclusively sewer rates. And the hearing was just before select board last night. Basically, they can budget what they need to budget as long as it's covered by the revenues. Otherwise, it's dipping into reserves, which have been dwindling by the year, and it's a losing game. We have to have increased it in order to cover these costs. And fortunately, Susan Glowatsky is the one who was helped calculate or did calculate the advisable rates for select board. And fortunately, she had this information in time. That's like a few hours ahead of her presentation to the select board to incorporate this in as another need. So if there are lines in here such as, well, the other professional services, they asked for 200, we gave them 150, and now we know it needs to go up by 130,000 more just on the sludge alone, which coincides with Stacy saying that line is going to be closer to 286,000. That's fine if it's, but we need to have it covered by revenues, and hopefully that we're going to get to that point where sewer will have what it needs and it will be covered by the revenues, so it can continue to be an independent enterprise fund as it's been.
So what happened last night with the select board? Did they vote to do an increase like Sue was looking at?
Actually, if I can speak,
Oh,
Amy,
great.
I said we needed to amend our sewer ask because of this last minute increase in the sludge receipt or the sludge bill.
Okay.
And I did a whole other rate structure to do a 20% first year increase for sewer, 10% second year, and 5% third year, that hopefully will cover this. You know, kind of with the inference that we need to take a look at these rates every year. And so if it needs to be adjusted next year, it may need to be. But the select board did go ahead and vote the 3-year plan that we have right now.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that sounds good. At least that's gonna help out. I think I'm
Right.
glad that went through smoothly.
Mhm.
Okay.
And are
Thank
we ready to move on to water? Okay, so it's the same situation with water, only they've had more, they have a bit more to work with in the way of revenues and as far as a backup reserve. However, it was also going in the wrong direction. Is just the situation wasn't quite as dire as sewer has become. So, so that also has been cured, in at least in part. We're going in the right direction with an increase in the water rates. So there you are, Scott.
Okay, once again, the salaries are set, a lot of them by the contract. So we're bound to that. But once again, overtime expense, there's, you know, mandatory overtime on the weekends, and we do have funding there for obviously for water emergency, etc. Shift differentials. We asked for 14,560, and the town agreed. Stipends and longevity, 14,550. Electricity, we asked for 182,000. The town suggested 130. Heating expense, 5,000. Water and sewer, we asked for 23,000. The town is suggesting 17,000. Water building systems, we asked for 15,000. The town agreed. Vehicle maintenance repairs, once again, we've asked for 8,000. The town is suggesting 6. Equipment repairs and maintenance, we asked for 100,000. The town is suggesting 80. Rental equipment, 5,000. Property related services, we asked for 1,000. The town is suggesting 500. Legal notices, we were asking for 3,200. The town is suggesting 2,500. Police details is 6,000. Technical support services, 6,500. Engineering services, we asked for 100,000. Town is suggesting 75. physicals and testing, 1,000. Telecommunications, 11,000. Software licensing, 8,000. Office supplies, we requested 5,000. The town's suggesting 3. Vehicle fuel, we requested 10,000. The town is suggesting 5. Waterworks supplies, we requested 75,000. The town is suggesting 50. Uniforms, we requested 9,500. Town is suggesting 8,500. Dues and licensing, 6,000. Infrastructure maintenance, we requested 100,000. The town is suggesting 75. And then principal, long-term debt, and interest, long-term debt. Those are things that Linda handles, paying back loans.
I'll start off again if that's okay.
Sure.
On 530 engineering services, year to date, as of December, we were at 73,720, which is fairly, it's over what we voted. Is there what's the discrepancy there? Is there a big project or something that came through?
Just everything in general, and anytime we need engineering services down there, the price of it has gone up tremendously to get an engineering service to guide us through any problems down there, which this year seemed to be a lot. There's more than we have in the past.
So I guess if we're as of December, I mean, where are we at now, Linda?
We are just over 80,000 at the end of February.
So if we're just over 80 and we've got a few months to go, and was there an unusual set of problems, or just is this pretty typical? And if so, why are we looking at 75 for next year if we know that costs certainly won't be lower than this year? We're already at 80.
Right. Well, if you're asking me why, we go back to look at 20 and 21, or 21 and 22, 53, 62. Right. So which is the norm? Is this an unusual year? Are the earlier years more accurate? I think that I thought, Scott, that, I mean, you said the rates went up or they're charging more, but I actually thought there were an unusual number of actual projects going on this year, that you've had a lot of emergencies, or I don't know if that involves the engineering, but I actually thought you were doing more things, and that seemed to be unusual.
Yeah, it seemed that we are doing had a little more problems this year. Just like I said, the cost in general, the engineering services is more. So, Stacy, do you know right off the top of your head currently what's still pending down there with the engineering costs?
I don't know what's still pending as far as projects go. I know we still have some stuff with comprehensive environmental in the work.
Yeah.
I believe for the lab testing for wells. We do have capital money set aside for some of it, but I don't believe.
Yes. The Mount Warner stuff is we have a article, but this is just general.
Right, yeah,
problems at
just
the water
general.
plant.
General, I don't think there's too much that's still pending. This year, it was
Okay.
a little bit more abnormal than other years, but mostly it was a cost in the actual labor itself has just gone up astronomically.
But like the other enterprise fund, you said we're in better shape with this one.
Well, they're both have been using the if you go a little, if you take the, have some time and go back in the earlier pages of the enterprise fund, there's some explanation there about how we are going down and using reserves in both the water and the sewer, but we had more to start with. We had more of a balance to begin with in water. And everyone in town pays a water bill, and we have the sewer income coming from fewer sources. So the overall sewer income is less than the water. So that we've always been able to have a higher and kind of up until the last few years, a climbing water reserves. We remember you use the water reserves and you go to town meeting and you want to buy something for 50, 60, $100,000, it just comes straight out of reserves, and we're not having to do the borrowing. But with the reserves going down, we have to look at that a little bit differently. So there's a little more of a cushion there. Certainly, changing one of those line items isn't going to make the big difference. And once again, they are going to benefit from the water rate increase, which we obviously didn't have at the time we were doing the budgets. But we work hard to keep these budgets within the revenues. And even the reduced budgets that we have for both water and sewer exceeded the revenues that we were projecting for this year prior to the rate increases. So we're hoping to get that right in the next couple of years.
For instance, Andy, one of the things we're working on, like right now down there, engineering services in the well building, in the rear of the well building, there's a major crack in the wall. And, obviously we have some engineers looking at, is the building settling, etc. What do we have to do to, fix it, and all those things like that. Obviously, there's a lot involved with it, and the labor is very expensive.
And that's differentiated from 5830 infrastructure maintenance. As I see that, there we had, 22 looked a lot, half of 21, and then, we're on pace for an even lower bit in 23, but there was a big an ask for 100,000 for 24. I'm wondering, is there a project that we're going to be missing out on?
Some of the things that I was trying to get away from, like every year we asked in a town meeting article for hydrants and valves, things of that nature, where I was trying to get away from that and just try to get it into our operating budget. We can, just have that money immediately to do some of that stuff. And, that's where we're looking at the increase. I think I don't have the current number, but I know right now we're currently a lot more than the $15,000.
This is the infrastructure one? Oh,
yes.
I still have just under 15,000. So maybe we've got some things that if you look up at water supplies, just a few above that, I have that at 70. So I wonder if we need to look and see if some of these things if these are getting charged to the right lines. Stacy, maybe we need to go over that.
I would like to have that discussion as well, because infrastructure maintenance, as far as I was told, should be just for basically pipe for new infrastructure or fixing the current infrastructure that we do have. So we weren't quite sure what should go as, like, should we keep that as an emergency if something is to break? That's kind of how it was used in the past. And I kind of inherited that way of thinking. So I would love to have that.
Sure. I can see where it would be very easy that you could put something in either waterworks supplies or the infrastructure. Maybe we should just combine them.
Absolutely. I would actually love to see a separate line for treatment chemicals, because that also falls under the supply line. And I think that that's something that we should be able to better budget for.
And that's another one too, the water chemicals and things. We bid it through the FERCog, and right now our last chemical order, they didn't even honor the contract price. was escalated. So it's another one of those things that, you know, we get a bid on it and we think we're going to spend X amount of dollars, but the vendors aren't holding their bid. And I'm not sure how you address that at all.
Thank you.
Okay. So so last night, this rate increase went through as well? And is this the same thing, 20, 10, and 5?
Oh,
This
No.
this one was 15.
No. Scott, excuse me. The water was 12, 6, and 6.
Thank you.
shall I stop screen sharing? We set with the budgets.
Well, I don't know. Does anyone else have any other comments?
I'm good.
All right. All right, I'm good as well. That's a lot to take in.
That's why we only did DPW in one night. It is a lot.
Yeah. It's just, prices just have skyrocketed, and it's a tough thing. You get a bill and what can you do? Except pay it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. I'm sure this has not been an easy process, particularly this time.
No, it's not. And I mean, I try to do my best and give realistic numbers, you know, good guesstimates, I guess, of what we need to go on. And, you know, it's a hard thing to do because no quotes or anything are good for any amount of time. It's just total craziness. I don't understand it, but it's just it's tough to operate like this. Just the unknowns are just so bad.
I think because of all these increases and everywhere that's going on, I think we need more ARPA money. I think you ought to take care of that, Linda.
Yes, and as I had a discussion with Paul Benjamin today when he was in, next time it doesn't get based on population.
Right.
Next time it has to be based on our businesses and our traffic on Route 9 and the various other things that scream out, we're not a small town, give us more money. So yeah, we've had a lot of demands on a fairly small ARPA distribution, and it's very frustrating to see other towns that are now looking for ways to spend theirs. Didn't work that way for us.
I know it. Yep. All right. So is there anything else that you'd like to add, Scott?
No,
Okay.
I think we covered pretty much everything.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We might come back and ask more questions later, but I think that's enough for right now. We have to see what the others are. It's just have to try to figure out, you know, where all this is going to come from. So thank you. I know it's not easy.
I understand. Thank you, guys.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Scott.
So I don't have anything else for tonight. I don't think I don't even have the agenda in front of me anymore, but I think this was it. So
I'd like to thank all of the officials for all the work on this budget. I know it's a tough process for everybody. Thank you for your time.
yeah. All right.
Want a
Well,
motion?
Your favorite part.
Paul's favorite motion, a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.